7 o'clock sharp, actually early. So, what's going on, everybody? Just let it warm up a little, see who shows up before we get into all of the events. So I have a couple different videos that I want to show you guys. So a couple different reaction videos, just things that like when I started 3D printing, like I'm gonna show you guys the creators that like I was into, because when I say if you can think it, you can print it, you're gonna see why I came up with that saying from seeing these videos. So it's gonna be a chill session. Like I said, I'm doing this one today. Just try to see the timing. See what works for everybody. But yeah, I definitely want to do more lives. Just get more comfortable on the camera. I feel like sometimes on my videos and even now, like my voice doesn't like repel the way I wanted to. So just getting a little bit more comfortable doing this a lot more often. So 7 o'clock, what's up guys? Welcome to the comic shop. It's BZ Comics. So if you're just joining, like I was saying, basically what I'm going to be going through is some cool inspirational videos just to show you what's possible with 3D printing. Don't mind me with my water. Gotta stay hydrated. But before I get into those videos, just like a little background on myself. So my name is Brian. Everybody calls me BZ. Call me BZ Comics. Basically, where can I start? What got me into the hobby? I would say what got me into the hobby is exactly what I'm about to show you guys now. I've always been like somebody who's like creative, somebody who's like thinking of how I can make things. When I was a kid, my biggest dream was like making a car that can fly. Like that's what I was thinking about when I was a kid. Like I used to love opening up computers, different things like that, and just seeing like the hard drives and the motherboards and stuff like that that they had in there. If you guys ever seen Home Alone 3, you'll see a part in the movie where they have like the RC car and they have this chip, and the way the chip looked, they made it look like gold, but I don't know, just once I seen that and seen that it was in RC cars, I started opening everything up. I just wanted to like learn and understand how those components work and what they do, kind of thing, from a young age. My channel, what I would say my channel is for is to inspire people, not only inspire people, but to like give people a pathway of something different. I don't, from my community, from my background, like you guys notice I always wear the culture hoodie. For my culture, I just want to show people not just rap music, not just drugs, not just women, not just promiscuous, just like the Bible says, the broad path. I want to show people the narrow path, that you can do something on the narrow path, something that's true to you and still become something. So to all those people who are subscribed to me, that join the community, thank you, because that means a lot to me. It definitely motivates me. Like going from 1 subscriber to now going to like almost 1,400, 1,500, like that's crazy. Like it sounds small, but it's so big to me. It's really huge to me. Like I said, it means a lot, so thank you guys. Along with my community, I want to make friends and just have a community of like-minded kind of people. Like I think we all have those conversations with friends, but then there's that one person that you can have a conversation with, and it's like during the conversation you get like cold chills from the conversation, because it's like, wow, you kind of think like me. Like I can express myself, I can say like what I actually think, and like we can bounce ideas off of each other. So like that's what I want to achieve with my community as well. But enough about me. You guys will get to know me more through these videos, more through these lives, so I'll keep that just a little bit short. Let's get into what we actually came for. Just some of these reaction videos. Now, the first person I'm going to show you is going to be Daryl, the broken nerd. Bro, stop doing that. All right, so where was I? He creates files from scratch. So through Blender, I believe is what he used at first. He creates the STL files that you see me print, so the different helmets and stuff like that I make. Those all come from computer software. He's able to do that. His finished process. Let me put you guys on basically. Not at home, so I don't have like my controller. Gotta do it like with this remote, word by word. Are we so spoiled? We got like technology. When you have to do something manually, it's such an inconvenience. So for me, I kind of just go to like the suggestion words and just skip. Come on. There we go. Another cool thing about him is he works with Adam Savage on Tested. If you remember the show back in the day, Mythbusters, that was one of my favorite shows. That's what also got me into this. Just seeing them like create different things on that show, blow different things up, like that stuff was like amazing. This is his channel. A lot of different helmets that he hasn't made videos in a while. It's definitely something that I would love for him to come back and do, because like I said, once you see what he does, you'll get why. So this is the one that I want to show you guys because it has like a lot of different components. I don't want to get like copyright or anything for that, but he has like a lot of different components that he puts into this video. So he shows you his sanding process, his printing process, his molding process, the whole nine.
Okay, so let's start with the 3D print and mold.
The style of his videos too, I love as well.
I started off by modeling the sword in Cinema 4D, then printing it on the Robo R2. I printed the main sword parts in IC3D's Black PETG. You can find their awesome filaments at ic3printers.com. In addition, I printed smaller parts of the...
You can always date a 3D printing video by like what printer the person's using. It's so funny. Or the
sword on the Piaccoli Moai for Matahackers. The parts were printed in black and clay UV resin, which you can pick up at matahackers.com. Okay, so it's time to start the sanding process. I started out with 100 grit sandpaper and gradually moved up to 220.
So for me, I start at 80 grit sandpaper and then work my way up from there. He starts at 100, but he goes like a lot finer as far as like wet and dry sandpaper.
Some of the other parts required a bit more cleanup, and sandpaper was just not working. So I opted to use a rasp to help knock back the really rough areas until it was smooth enough to use sandpaper again.
That's just like another tool that you can use there as well. I use like a hand sander, palm sander, different like hand sander kind of prints that I've made for files to like get in small spaces. So it's something else that you can actually throw into your arsenal.
I thoroughly sanded all the parts. Once all the parts were sanded, it was time to spray on some primer. I used Rust-Oleum's primer filler and applied a few coats to each part of the sword.
That's the old stuff that I used to use too. Just like look at the finish that he has on there. For me, as far as like how far to go in sanding and like how good you can actually get like a print to actually look. Doesn't matter if it's resin, doesn't matter if it's filament, the amount of work that you put into it is going to give you the kind of result that you actually look for.
I decided to polish the surface of the prints before I started the molding process. So once the primer was dry, I took the parts to my buffer and polished the guard and handle.
Now obviously not everybody has a buffer at their house, but like this is an extra step that he's taking just because he's making a mold. So just look at that. It's like, to me, it's like, why make them? That is perfect the way it came out. Look at that.
I also applied some polishing compound to the gem to give it a nice polish finish.
Polish, you don't need that you can still get like a polishing kit, and after you use like a clear coat, you can polish your print from there and give like a lot better shine. It also helps. Things are still gonna get dusty and still gonna get worn, but that actually helps. It gives it like an extra coat for you to actually help and maintain. As long as you like maintain it, keep like wiping it down, wiping all the dust off, everything like that. With that, you're gonna get a lot better result.
I wanted to cast the handle and guard in one piece. So I glued it together with CA glue and applied some accelerant to help move the parts together faster.
This is something that I'm trying to master too. What's up, Cecile?
Alright, it's time to make our two-part mold. I started out by using foam board as my surface, and it will be the same material I used to build our mold. So
This
here
is what I'm
using
trying to
oil-based
learn as
clay
well.
to build up the first part of our mold.
Trying to learn how to make these molds, and
I'm building up the clay to the midpoint of the handle.
it's like once you get a mold, it's so much quicker instead
Once
of
the
like
clay was to the halfway mark,
3D
I smoothed
printing
out
it
the
all over
surface
again.
and took the back of one of my sculpting tools and used it to make registration holes in the clay. I then repeated the same process for the blade. I also used my sculpting tool to make sure to seal up any gaps between the clay and the blade.
this process takes a lot longer time, but once you're done and get this mold, like I said, it's a lot faster to recreate the product that you're actually making. So doing this for like helmets or like smaller props like the Green Goblin pumpkin bomb that I'm working on, being able to do that like this.
Then I cut some foam boards to make our box. I applied hot glue to each piece and placed them around the clay to form the box. Alright, now it's time to mix up some silicone. For this, I'm using Mold Star 30. I poured out even parts of A and B in a separate cup as this silicone has a 1-to-1 mix ratio. I then mixed both parts into one cup and used a mixing stick to mix thoroughly, being careful to scrape the sides until I had a consistent and even color.
More of that elbow grease.
Once the silicone was mixed, I poured it into the mold. To ensure that I did not introduce air bubbles into the silicone, I poured the silicone in at the lowest part of the mold.
Nodding my head to the song.
I also created a simple one-part mold for the gem and gem holder. I then allowed the mold to cure overnight.
Came out perfect.
Once cured, it was time to make the second part of the mold. I repeated the process of creating the box. This time, I thoroughly sprayed the mold with mold release to ensure that the second part of the mold that's poured in does not adhere to the bottom part of the mold. I mixed up some more silicone and poured the second half.
This thing at the end is beautiful.
I allowed this to dry overnight, and in the morning, I opened up the mold. I'm very happy with how this turned out, considering that this was my first two-part mold of this size. So I'm really happy with how this came out. This wasn't my first two-part mold, but this is the first two-part mold that I've made of that size. The other two-part molds that I've made have been just smaller things. So I'm really happy with how this came out, considering that it was that big. So I know I haven't been up here in a while, so I want to give a big, big shout out and thank you to all my Patreons. I thank you for supporting me even in my time of absence.
That's part one to it. So that's, like I said, just showing you guys like the process of like the backgrounds that go into it, the sanding, the mold, everything like that. Now it's going to be part two where he actually finishes it. So you get to see like more of the paint process and post process.
Fearless leader here.
Because I don't want to get copyrighted from that stuff.
I started out by dispensing equal parts of Smoothcast B25 A and B.
Gets me into something else. I want to get an airbrush too, because I feel like rattle cans do like a certain quality, but I feel like airbrushes you can get like a lot more finer details, so on and so forth. So stay tuned for that. Got to show you guys some other stuff because my normal process is there, so I want to show you guys like a new process with new material and equipment.
I added too much of the Soul Strong pigment dye, as you'll see shortly. Before mixing part A and B together, I made sure to have my mold close because this particular resin sets up relatively quickly. I mixed both parts and poured it into the mold. To eliminate air bubbles, I put my mold into a pressure pot and allowed it to cure in the pressurized pot.
I've seen a lot of people use this machine. It looks pretty cool. I don't know. I don't remember if he actually shows you a visual of it.
Once the resin was cured, it was time to see how it turned out.
On his videos on Test It and like other videos, he shows like what it looks like on the inside of that. It's cool. Blue diamond right there. Look at that.
Not bad, but the blade is way too dark. Time to try again. This time I'm trying out some Crystal Clear 200 along with some pearlized pigment powder.
And that's what I mean. It's easier with the mold because he failed, and all you gotta do is
I
just like
dispensed part A
pour
and
it
B of
back.
the Crystal Clear according to the manufacturer's bulletin. I added some blue resin pearlized powder to part B.
Instead of printing it all over again.
Mix thoroughly before adding it to the vacuum chamber.
Those are the ones
Once the
I see
vacuum
more.
chamber was done, I removed the resin,
That has the clear top that I was talking about.
poured it into the mold, and allowed it to cure overnight in a pressure pot. Time to see what we ended up
Pressure
with.
cooker.
Good, but I added too much powder. Okay, so third time's the charm.
That's what I always say.
And finally, perfect.
Look at that. Looks like candy almost.
Time to clean up the blade. I use my buffing wheel to polish the blades using various polishing compounds.
That's something else that I'm gonna start to add into my process. Like I said, the finishing of the paint process. I've shown you guys like acrylics, rattle cans, stuff like that. That's cool, but like I said, airbrushing, polishing, clear coating, different things like that. I want to build it and like show you guys how to do as well, and get a better finish.
and here are the results.
Maybe not like to that.
Time to cast some handles. For this, I'm using Smooth Cast 300. I dispensed equal parts of A and B and added some So Strong black resin pigment. I mixed up the resin thoroughly and poured it into each part of the mold. Once
Love
the
the
resin
music he
started to
chooses.
set, I closed the mold and poured some more resin in.
And he's not like getting bubbles or anything like that. What's going on, man? Welcome back.
I turned the mold upside down to ensure it filled the bottom of the mold and handle where the bottom gem sits.
That's just crazy.
And here is our resin handle. So it's time to paint.
I mean, that color look.
I started off by cleaning up the handle a bit and removing the seam line. I then coated the handle in some primer filler and because my garage was cold, I used a hairdryer to help it dry faster.
That stops it from cracking. When it's cold, trust me, where I'm from, it's cold, so you gotta do what you can do.
So I decided to use Krylon Shimmer Metallic Candy Pear for the handle. It has a really nice glitter effect when sprayed on.
There's some colors that like I would have no use for, but I would just want. That's one of those. Like,
I also decided to try out Krylon's Clear Polyurethane, and I was seriously impressed with the results. I applied a few heavy coats and allowed it to dry overnight.
and that's what I'm mentioning as well, like clear coating. There's different clear coats that you can get that give different effects that go with different rattle cans. But it gives such like a
Okay, for the second handle, I'm using Multos
Better
Chrome
finish.
for the base coat. I sprayed on a few coats with an airbrush and allowed it to dry.
and silver is one of those colors with rattle cans. It's just like it's pointless to use. That's why I want an airbrush as well. Being able to like mix those colors to get like the metallic that you want. It's crazy.
I added a little bit of weathering using my airbrush around the edges of the handle.
Weathering is a big one big reason why I want an airbrush.
I then sprayed on a few coats of Tamiya Transparent Red, allowed it to dry. Apply.
That Tamiya, that brand I found on Amazon, they have like, if you're looking for two-tone colors, if you're looking for like pearlescent colors, if you're looking for like colors that you won't find at like a regular store, check them out online. They have like a great selection of. They're like one of the better rattle cans. A lot of people use those for like model cars and stuff like that, just to get
A
like
few coats of
car-like
clear
finishes.
polyurethane, and here are the results. Here are all the parts ready for assembly.
That's crazy.
The smaller gems were cast using Smooth Cast 325 and polished on the button wheel.
Definitely. No bubbles, no nothing.
Time to put the sword together.
We'll go through the journey together, Cecile. It's definitely something I need to add. Small gems like that are why I want to mold too.
And here are the finished swords.
That's crazy. You're good to go. She only used the once, you're good to go. I think the Tamiya makes little cans for airbrushing too that you can like mix up for them as well. I don't know what kind of nozzle she has as well, but they are like different nozzles that you can attach that like make it a little easier. The one that he had that had like that little nozzle where you like control the air and the pressure is like kind of weird.
These
for me at least.
The swords. They're not that big. I wanted them to scale. So I used my son, my youngest son, to kind of scale. I figured he was probably the same height as Kermit, judging off of the nanny in the cartoon. So I figured my 2-year-old was about the height. So I kind of used him as for reference. I had him hold a measuring tape.
But that's Daryl. That's the Broken Nerd. Definitely check out his channel. He has. Who makes vibranium? He made vibranium. Definitely check him out because he makes some amazing stuff. The next person that I'm gonna get into is RC Life On. He makes some amazing stuff. So like, I'm kind of into robotics, which is kind of like what he makes. He makes like different RC cars. He makes like different boats. He's made like he made his own like paddle surfboard. But he's somebody that's like super motivational for getting in, for me at least, when I was like first on the fence of getting into 3D printing, seeing like, this is the surfboard that I'm talking about. But just seeing him like make what he made, just like,
We have done 4 parts of the electric surfboard.
I was 100% on board with watching Daryl and watching this guy, and the next person I'm gonna put you guys on to as well.
To keep my 75.
So from Daryl, I got to see like different Marvel, different like DC comics. I got to see like you can like make different cosplay. That was like check mark number 1 of me wanting to get into this. And then when I got to him, I got to see different drones, different techniques that you can use, and different, like I said, if you think it, you can print it.
And then I switched to Liberty Mutual.
This is a drone that he made. And I want to show you guys like the process that he went on with that. So this is what got me into like wanting to learn like electronics, CPUs, boards, cameras, all that stuff.
Hey guys, I hope you're doing great. I don't know if I ever told
cool
you,
guy.
but before YouTube, I built and sold DIY FPV racing drones. If you don't know what that is, just wait for it. So I was working with a lot of different type of quadcopters, some really big ones that can carry a lot of weight, and of course these small FPV racing quadcopters that can fly really fast, close to trees, you are in full control. Now, actually, we would crash most of the times. But it is a lot of fun nonetheless. What we are doing today is building a FPV racing drone using 3D printed parts. This is the Pion 230.
It's on Thingiverse, so I'm sure that file is probably still there.
Printed
Something
all
that
the
you want
parts
to do as
using
well.
PLA plastic, which I know is not the strongest stuff on earth, but we'll have to try it. Okay, if the PLA doesn't work, we could try this PETG filament that should be more tough and resistant. 3D printed FPV
PTG is a lot harder to print with, a lot higher temperatures to print with, but it's a lot more durable.
racing drone build. Let's do it.
Like I said, I noticed like small things, like the style of how they're doing the video, what they're showing. The Captain America shield, that's dope. I was thinking of doing Taskmaster's shield. I made a Taskmaster helmet not too long ago, so I was thinking of doing the shield and the
Here
sword
is
with
the
it.
frame, looks very nice. Let's see the electronics.
This is like the hard part. It's like, but the next person I show you guys is going to show you like how to do all the electronics. That
Hey,
part
have you ever
is,
been wondering what the inside of a drone racer looks like? You know, here you go. You got the internal organs, you got the brain, you got the heart, you got the muscles, you got the eyes. You know, pretty accurate.
this is probably like 3 years ago that I watched this video, but I think he shows how to like program all of those as well, because for each propeller, which he's gonna like basically explain, you have to like get those to regulate on the same plane. So it takes time to learn this stuff, but it's like such a good skill to have.
Before I screw everything together and put on the top plate, let me show you and let me give you an explanation to someone who has never seen a drone before and give you a better understanding of how something like this functions, because it's really cool. A quadcopter has 4 motors. Yeah, that's kind of obvious. Each motor has its own individual ESC that controls the speed of the motor by adjusting its RPMs. And the electric speed controller is connected to a PDB that distributes the power from something like a battery, and so giving power to all the motors.
And that board is what I'm basically trying to master, because with that, you can do like different LEDs. Like I said, the next company that I'm going to show you guys actually makes those. They give you tutorial videos on how to actually program there. So I'm like going through like a little course, learning, studying, learning
Now
how to
here
do this
comes the
stuff.
really interesting part. For the speed controllers to know what RPM to run the motor at in order to keep level flight, we need a flight controller, which basically is the brain inside a drone. The flight controller is the component that knows whether the drone is upside down or at a certain angle, and by knowing this, it notifies each individual ESC to regulate the RPM of each motor to keep the drone stable.
Simple, right?
There is a system completely separate from this called a FPV system. You have seen it on the DJI Mavic. You hook up your phone and you get a live video feed from the camera on the drone into your phone. And that was a nice rhyme. We do the exact same thing. We have a small CMOS camera connected to a video transmitter that transmits a video signal that my fancy goggles picks up, and you can display the footage in 2 monitors inside the goggles. This is the exact same setup, just in a bit more awkward format. So if I plug in the drone, you can see, or you should see, so here is a live video feed from this. So when you're flying, you can see where you're going. And yeah, when you crash, it's very immersive. So for a moment, it feels like you're gonna die. Very exciting.
That's one thing I liked about his videos too. It's, you got like dry humor, but it's like funny. It like keeps you into the video. Just little things like that I like that he does in his video too.
I still have no idea if this works. At this point, it could either work very nicely or blow up. But I'm pretty confident. Here we go.
From his garage. You can think it, you can make it. Just like a little, that's what I mean, just like a little bit of focus on something. Like, look what you can do from your garage. That's what millionaires are made. In the bedroom and in the viewer discretion advised.
Yeah, that totally worked. Minus the crash. We are on our way to my all-time favorite location for racing. It's beautiful. You'll see it.
Even things like that, I've seen people 3D print different skateboards, boards. Like you can 3D print the frame of it, and then get a motor and create. It is fun. It is fun to create. Stepping back and looking at something like I made that, and it works. It's addictive. If I was at home, you'd see all my prints, so you'd
With a 3-cell
understand.
battery, and once we feel more comfortable, I'll swap over to the 4-cell battery. That should give us a lot more punch. The GoPro recording, this is what I will see through the goggles, and this is the GoPro. Big difference.
It's got to be like stress relief, like those views, the images that you get from that. I'd be the guy to fly it somewhere and then not be able to find it, and the battery's dying. Be looking for myself in the drone. Where am I?
Just first impression, it feels just like the real thing. Like I can't feel a difference from the plastic frame and the carbon fiber frame. If I would describe with just one word the feeling of flying this, it would be surfing. Like it feels like you're floating in the air, just avoiding trees. Like it's actually really relaxing.
That's what I was saying. I feel like that's like a super like relaxing kind of experience to just do that and have fun until you crash.
That's just insanely awesome. Like the feeling, you couldn't describe it. It feels just like being in something like a helicopter floating through the air, and you can fly anywhere. But the fear of actually crashing, I mean, it does add a certain spice to it. Awesome. 3-cell.
It's like VR.
3-cell fine. With the GoPro and a 2200 3-cell, it's on the heavier side. Now swapping over to a 1400 4-cell will make this go fast as
Viewer discretion is advised. That's the only thing about creation. Sometimes, like when you're almost there, and you're like powered up and everything's feeling right, and then you.
About to take off with the new 4-cell battery when I noticed these vibrations in the
Just walk away at those points. Trust me. Just walk
arms,
away.
like severe vibrations that I didn't have for sure. I'm confident I didn't have it before. This is something that happened after the first flight. Right away I was thinking like, okay, it gotta be the bolts on the bottom. So I tightened everything and that wasn't it. So I started like feeling the arms and I could tell right away.
This like thought process is huge for 3D printing because not only does it show you like if you're actually doing electronics how to like overcome something, but even with the printer this can happen. Like if you're getting wobble from something, if your Z-rod is acting up, or if you're like trying to figure out why your print is coming out bad, these are kind of like the same kind of components that you would look at to figure out what's going on with your printer to solve it. So it's like cool that he gives you like this thought process and shows you how he like overcame exactly what it was.
That these arms that have been on the quadcopter is way more flexible than a new printed, never used arm, which is very interesting because I can't see any physical damage or deformation on the arms. So just by instinct, I feel it could have something to do with the infill. Inside the arms, I have 30% infill, which means it's basically 70% air. And what I think, since PLA is kind of brittle, it could be that the infill has cracked. It is basically disconnected from the perimeters of the arm, so it acts like there's no infill. That's non-verified information.
The next day.
Okay, turns out it didn't have anything to do with the infill. Okay, here's what happened. I made a new set of arms, 5 perimeters,
I don't know, maybe I'm corny, but this dude, I don't know. It's funny watching it.
Like, there is no way this is not gonna work. Still with the same mindset that the infill was the problem, I went the opposite way and made an arm with 3 perimeters and just 20% infill. Yeah, I didn't even bother testing those. I made sure the propellers were balanced, everything was okay. It was just these weird vibrations from nowhere. And what it turned out to be was actually when I printed the bottom plate specifically, the corners, even though, I mean, it's pretty long, it's a pretty long piece, the corners, even though it's PLA, would warp slightly. And even though this is not like affected on the arms in the front, in the back you can see it's connected right to the end of that plate, and the warped corners would actually give the arms enough room to shake, to flex, to wiggle.
Small detail too.
Anyway, I thought it was pretty interesting, and how I fixed it was by adding 2mm carbon strips
Peace.
on the bottom of
Catch
the
you next
arms.
time, man.
I just super glued them to the bottom arms and reinforcing that connection between the arms and the body. And now it feels super solid, it flies a lot better, so that's something to keep in mind. But now we are back in business, and Forcell is coming up, so let's do it.
I mean, yeah, I'll definitely be live again, so definitely just keep an eye out. Good chatting with you, man. Have a good night.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh my god.
Oh, that's beautiful. Have I like motivated you yet? Have I gotten you into it yet? Like this is it's different, it's new, it's fun. Let's see. Now this is gonna show you more of like the programming, basically what he did for like the propellers, everything like that. It's gonna show you where to get those boards, the whole nine. I'm putting you guys onto some pretty good companies. Like if you start 3D printing, these are the places that you're gonna like stumble and like find yourself at. Anyway, just like getting you there quicker. What was it again? It's all like different swords and capabilities that like. It's Halloween. Imagine having this capability. Arts and crafts, do things with the kids, everything like that. Like it's fun. Show them something different. If you ever remember that show, Zoom, I used to love that
Hey
show.
folks, in this video we'll show you how to make a light up Master Sword from The Legend of Zelda.
Sounds, everything, lights.
This build has motion activated sound effects and LED animations. The Adafruit Feather and Prop Maker Featherwing has everything you need to add lights and sounds.
So that's basically what I'm learning how to do, because like I said, just like he said, it gives you lights, it gives you sounds. So from that you can program everything, which is going to show you more. It's called the Featherwing.
NeoPixel LEDs are fitted inside the blade. This uses the built-in accelerometer to detect swings and hits. When you swing it around, it'll shoot beams as an LED animation and play different sounds. It'll play them randomly so it doesn't sound repetitive. It also has a slow pulsing animation with an idle sound effect that loops in the background. You can make this fit your project.
For the Blades of Chaos that I have coming up,
Get the parts to...
I'm thinking of using this. And I have like an old lightsaber that I still haven't gotten to. You guys probably seen the short on that a while. I still haven't gotten to that, or the C3PO helmet, so.
build this project, links are in the description. The parts in this kit are 3D printed using translucent PLA filament.
And again, this is Adafruit. They have a website where you can get all of this stuff, all the files. This you can get on Thingiverse as well, but all the electronics that you need, lights, buttons, you could think of it electronically, they have it.
This Master Sword was originally designed by Garrett from Chaos Quartet. The files are open to remix and feature really nice details. The parts have been modified to fit all of the electronics and available to download. The code is written in Adafruit CircuitPython, which makes it excellent for beginners. You can upload code and recharge the battery with the built-in USB port. The code is nicely commented and it's easy to adjust values like the speed of the animation.
And that's a huge thing that feather comes with that you can charge everything straight from there instead of having to have a battery pack.
Or the sensitivity of the accelerometer. Use the Mu editor in Serial Console to get print statements. This makes iteration much faster so you don't have to compile your code like in Arduino. It works like a USB storage device so you can drag and drop files right on the drive. We'll start by cleaning up the parts. A large brim helps prevent the parts from warping. We'll use sandpaper to smooth out the mating surfaces. This makes attaching the parts a bit easier. You'll want to sand these down to get nice and flush joinery. Starbond Superglue has precision tips which allows you to apply glue with a finer control. Lay out the parts to get an idea of how they'll fit together. Applying hot glue inside of the joints can help create a stronger bond.
That's one thing I like about their files too. They give you like cavities so that way you can put everything in there without like a struggle. So you can add the LEDs in there simply. The Featherwing has its own space, and as you can see, there was like a exit port that you can stick your, like the USB and everything in there. So they already think of that for you. All you have to do is just get the materials, learn it, and then put it into their files.
We used acrylic paints to color the handle, but you could also use airbrushing if you have the tools and experience. You'll need to make two halves and join them together. Be sure to check out the Learn Guide for step-by-step instructions. You can follow along with the build photos to wire up the electronics. Links are in the description. To keep the circuit as slim as possible, the prop maker wing is soldered directly on top of the feather. You can put the components inside the handle to get an idea of where to place them. We can extend the USB port using DIY connectors. A small tactile switch can be used to trigger the reset button. We're using silicone-covered wires to make these connections. They're both strong and flexible. The extra pins on the Featherwing make
The first pumpkin bomb that I made, I believe I show myself doing some of this, or it was my arc reactor, but I don't know if I still have that video up.
wiring much easier.
But again, all these components they have on their website. And they usually have a bundle, that way you can get
This
everything at
slide switch will
once.
power the circuit on and off. Once these are wired up, we can start mounting the components and connect the speaker. Use a 3-pin JST cable to connect the NeoPixel strips to the prop maker. We can cut the stock cable and create a Y connection for sharing power, data, and ground across two strips. Heat shrink tubing is used to insulate the exposed connections. To fully illuminate the blade, we're using two mini skinny NeoPixel strips. With everything wired up, we can test out the circuit. You want to make sure everything fits and the two halves can fully close. You want them to be flush as possible when attaching them together. So once the parts are in a good spot, we can secure them in place with hot glue. You can use a can of air duster to freeze dries the hot glue. This proved to be really handy, and it makes this a quick process and really speeds up the drying.
Like I said, the fact that they do this for you is big, because this is the issue that I had with making my pumpkin bomb, is that I don't have like, I had to slice the file. It's not like a simple process to make everything, so I had to customly slice it to fit everything in. They have these slots and sections actually.
The speaker gets covered up so we can make some speaker holes. We used a needle and heated up the tip so that you can melt the PLA. So we made a few
And don't be afraid, the coding they already do for you. It's just the matter of downloading everything onto it.
of them, and that really makes this sound much lighter. The two halves are hot glued together, and the handle is tied with some paracord. If you make a tight wrap, you can secure the handle together. You can use a bit of glue to keep it tied. And there you have it, the Master Sword. So get your Link cosplay ready and make yourself one of the most iconic props ever made.
So those are the 3 for the day. Again, those are some pretty cool companies. Those are not companies. Those are pretty cool creators. Again, those are all the sites or the creators that I started watching first before I actually like got into it or actually like got my first 3D printer. So again, I hope this was able to like shed a light for some of you guys just to like see what's capable, what you're able to do with these machines, the different trades and skills that you'll be able to learn with these as well. Like I said, I hope this definitely sheds a light for you guys, and I hope it encourages you guys to actually look a little bit more in depth on what you can actually do with 3D printers and what's capable. Besides that, I'm not sure when I'm gonna go live again. Like I said, I'm just working out with these, see the timing, so on and so forth, how everything works out. Today was a chill day. Had a couple people stop by. Thank you again if you were in here. Thank you for stopping by. Again, it means a lot that you guys watch the videos, that you guys subscribe, and that you guys like the videos, because again, that motivates me and it motivates any other creator that you watch as well. So can't speak for them, but for myself, thank you guys. As always, it's BZ Comics. Have a good night. God bless. Peace.